Alright, so this guy's gone super viral on Instagram for his edits, and he edits on CapCut. His edits are super clean. You can see here's one for example, and this is all done on CapCut, which is the insane part. I think that's why he's gone viral, because no one knows how he can actually do this. But if you want another free way besides CapCut, you have Davinci Resolve, which is the editor that I primarily use. It's an amazing editor, and I copied one of his videos. You can see if I go to this one here. You can go to his Instagram, watch this, see what it's like. And this is basically the copy that I made of it. I'm going to explain exactly how to do this in Davinci Resolve. Everything I've done in this video is completely with the free version, so you do not need to spend any money to make this edit. This is what it looks like.
So how much money do you make?
So this is our first year in business, and we're projected to make a little bit over $1 million.
So what do you do?
So we work with large creators, and we guarantee up to 150 million views in the first 90 days working with us.
So first, let me explain the video part of it. If I disable this track and I disable this track above, we have the video clip of him talking right here, and you can see I've made these into compound clips by right-clicking and clicking new compound clip, and you can see all the way through I cut it exactly like Natt did, and I also zoomed it in exactly like he did. I added in the same music that he used on that short, and then after everything I added sound effects. Tried to make it as similar as possible, but I couldn't find the exact ones. And these visual effects here are all in this adjustment clip. So to get an adjustment clip, you just go in the toolbox here and you search up adjustment clip, drag it in, and this is basically like a blank clip that you can work with and put all of your Fusion effects on. So if I go into the Fusion tab while hovering over this adjustment clip, or if there's a clip above it and so you need to just get to this clip, you can right click on it and then click open in Fusion page. And you can see for this first section, I have these nodes. If I change it to split screen here, you'll see this is the final product. If I press 1 on here, you will be able to see what the node I've clicked 1 on looks like by itself. So this node is a green screen of money falling. And by the way, the entire project file and assets are available for you to download. First link in the description, you just have to join that group. It's a video editing group, and I explain everything in the video. But if you join it, you'll get access to my course, a bunch of other business courses / video editing courses, and a ton of assets, including this one. So you'll be able to basically take this same Davinci Resolve project and just study it or just copy it for yourself. So now I'm gonna just disable my face cam, but you can see after the green screen of the money, I put in a delta keyer. So a delta keyer will remove the green background. It's pretty simple to use. You just drag this eyedropper tool over the green, right? And then it will get rid of it. And then after that, I did a color corrector to make it more green. So the color corrector, you'll just drag this knob to the green side right here like this. After that, I added some Gaussian blur, and finally it just goes into a merge, which basically puts it on top of this footage clip right here. Next thing after that, I added a grid and I turned down the opacity. I turned down the size. After that, I just added a simple black background, and then in the merge, I turned down the opacity as well. So this kind of fades out this part so it doesn't distract too much from the stuff that I'm about to add in front. And this thing, I literally just found it on YouTube by, I think I searched like Instagram likes going up or Instagram followers going up green screen. Found it on YouTube, and then obviously it's a green screen, so do the same thing with the delta keyer. Then add some camera shake on it. These are my settings. I pretty much only changed the motion scale, the speed scale. I think I changed the tilt amplitude, so when you play it through, you can see it kind of shakes back and forth like that. And then at the end of this section, I did a merge animation with the size and the center of it. So at this frame, I keyframed it at where it is now, and then at the end, I made it smaller and kind of disappear behind his head. So for this part, you can see it's actually a cutout of him talking. Usually you can do this in Davinci Resolve with the paid version, but since I wanted to make this available to people who use the free version, I used the runway trick. The runway trick is going to be in this video. I'll leave it in the top right corner. I explain everything basically to get a 1080p version of yourself cut out. And I basically did this in a separate clip, and I made it into a compound clip. And it's not here anymore on the edit page because I put it here, obviously, in this adjustment clip. But it was a clip here. I made it into a compound clip by just right clicking on it and then clicking new compound clip. And you can see here's one of them, for example. As you see, the background is completely black, which means that it is transparent. If I go into the Fusion page, I can actually go into my media pool and drag in that same compound clip here, which is what I did. And it will bring in the transparent background version of him talking. And then I just used a color corrector, brought up the saturation a little bit to kind of make him pop out a little more. Then that goes into a merge, obviously. And here we have a rectangle node with the softness turned up and the level turned down, which is basically kind of like the opacity. You can see this is the width and the height. And then we have a black background here. And then above that, we have text. So this text kind of animates in. I tried to copy the CapCut animation as much as possible. I know Natt probably used one of the preset animations that you get on CapCut. In Davinci Resolve, unfortunately, they don't really have that. So I tried to make it myself. What I did was I just took Open Sans bold font because I couldn't find the exact font he used, put the color white, and then on the shading, I keyframed the opacity. So it starts here, and then the opacity comes in and fully appears like after 2 frames. And also on the transform tab, I keyframed the pivot Z and the X rotation value. So it started here. This is the settings I dragged it down to. And then if we go forward a couple frames, I drag both of them back to 0 and then up a little bit. So it kind of like rotates up like that and then back down to 0 again. And you can see this part is taking a little bit longer. So you can see using this like X rotation and the Z pivot, it was the best thing that I could do to kind of emulate that animation that Natt uses. And then I just copied this text and pasted it right here. So same exact thing. The only thing is I moved this animation a little bit further down the timeline and I made the text red. And how you move the animation timing is you have to go into the keyframes tab while selecting the node you want to edit. And then you just bring down this drop down, highlight all of your animations here, and you can drag it wherever you want in the clip. And if I go on the spline tab, I think I did smooth out some of these animations. So for example, like if I want to smooth out this one, I can just highlight these 2 keyframes and then press S. And then once you press S, you can also press T to adjust the ease in and ease out. And it will just change what your animation looks like. So this is pretty much it for this section. The next part is just like a film burn transition that I added, which goes into the next adjustment clip. And to explain this, if I go into the Fusion page, first, we got the same grid background that I used. It's full opacity. That goes into a merge node. And then we have this green screen that I found on YouTube just by looking up like stock chart or like maybe glowing line. And then what I did is you can see it appears here. First, I remove the green screen with the delta key. Then I use a transform node. And this is not the transform node that you see here. This is actually a different one. So if I press Shift space or Control space if you're on Windows, look up transform and you'll see there's transform XF, but I didn't use that. I used just the regular transform. And this one allows you to adjust the width. So I made it wider and then I also just changed the position to basically move it up here to the top. And then I used a color corrector and turned the saturation all the way down to make it like white and change the size a little bit in the merge node. On top of that, I just have a black background that is slightly with the alpha down a little bit, which makes it a little bit transparent. And this was basically just to make this text and him pop out more. After that, we have the text. So it's just like the first year, same thing as what Natt had in his edit. So this is what it looks like by itself. Then I added some glow onto it with these settings. Then I added some camera shake with these settings. I only changed like these 4. So it like moves back and forth. And then on this text node, I did do a little animation here where the word million comes in. So this is just on the layout. I just put a keyframe on the center where it is now. And then I moved forward to here, and then I just moved it down using this arrow, clicking, holding, and dragging all the way down to the bottom. And then, of course, I go into the spline tab. If I press zoom to fit and select this animation, I highlighted both of them. I pressed S, and then I adjusted this handle to basically make it ease in a little more and then have like a smooth out transition. And on top of that, I went into the settings tab here. I checked motion blur and moved it to these settings. So you can see when it's moving down, it has some motion blur. And then with this million text here, I had it come in like this. First, I changed it to this position using the layout. So put a keyframe on the center at this position, and you can just copy my settings here, the size, and here are the X and Y rotation values to get it to be here. So I went around 5 frames forward and just brought everything back to pretty much normal. So yeah, all of these are like 0, 0, 1, and then the center is right here. And this animation is also smoothed out, and it also has motion blur. And this text has the exact same effects, like the exact same camera shake and glow, just copy and pasted it. After that, we have the cutout of him talking. So again, color corrector to pop him out a little more. Then actually you can see I even added some glow on his head to kind of make it look realistic, like he was actually in the scene. I used a white background here and a red background here with like an ellipse node. And on the ellipse node, I used these settings. I changed the soft edge up, so it kind of acted like a light on his head. And then on the merge node here, I moved the center to fit the position where it would make sense, like where it would actually be if he was in the scene. And then select the operator atop. so it does not go outside of the cutout of him. And same thing for this merge as well. And then from here, I just animated the size and the center is like a 24 frame animation of him just zooming in. And that's pretty much it for this section. The next part is like a money explosion. So this is a green screen, and I obviously went in here, delta keyer, color corrected it to bring out the green in the money. And yeah, I couldn't find the exact one that Natt used on his video because I'm pretty sure he used Motion Array, which is not free, but it has really good assets. I do have a link in the description if you want to use that. It is a paid subscription, but I found a free one on YouTube. It's not quite as good, but it works. And then here I use this slider, but on the end here to fade it out. So it just looks like this. And then this goes into the next adjustment clip. So if I explain this, from the beginning here, you obviously have the footage. I mean, it didn't need to be on anyone because there's something covering it. And then I got this background. So it's just a transparent background just to separate this part on its own like control. That's followed by a black background, and the blend is animated in. So like when he's talking, it slowly gets darker as this animation comes in. And also a grid background with the same animation. So it gets darker with the black and the grid background. And I could have just done the grid background by itself because it already has a black background, but I wanted to make it kind of transparent because otherwise it would be too distracting. So I just added another black background behind it. And you can see the blend is only up to like half. After that, I added the text, but I'm going to come back to that later because there's some other stuff that comes in before that. And then here's a picture of Iman. This is just copying what Natt did in his video. But this is really like the next part. So I'll come back to all of this stuff later. We have a transparent background, obviously, just to kind of separate it from the rest of the animation. Then we have this red ellipse here. So just ellipse node with these settings, red background. Then we have a white rectangle. You can see rectangle has these settings. And then we have another white rectangle. If I move backward, you can kind of see all of these. So like this is the first white rectangle like on the bottom here. And this is me trying to like kind of make it look like he's working on a desk. So the desk top is the second rectangle. And you can see it's flat and this one's kind of turned. So if I go here, that's obviously white background. And I used the corner position. I changed it to like these settings to kind of make it diagonal and look like he's working on a desk. Then I added some drop shadow to separate the two. And actually, I realized this is the gray square. So this one is just the same thing as this white one, but I just added a gray square below this white square to just give it a 3D effect. And then the drop shadow is on the gray square because it's below. And yeah, it basically looks like a desk. And then I got this random picture of this guy. I had to cut him out. This guy working on like a laptop. Color corrector, turn down the saturation to make him black and white. Then that goes into a merge node, just sized him up. And I had a color corrector because this is what Natt does in his animation, where from here to here, it just makes everything black and white. So just do an animation with the saturation and also with the blur. So like at the same time, it also gets blurrier. So you can like not focus on this part and focus on the next thing that's coming in. And there's also a merge node that will make everything come down. So just put a keyframe on the center and size, and then I made it a little bit bigger and made the center come down a little bit. So like when that's coming down, at the same time, this picture of Iman is coming in. So we'll go back to this part. We have this picture of him and then made it black and white, then added an ellipse over it and made it black and positioned it like that. And over that is just a question mark. And you can see I did an animation with the merge to make him come up like this. It's a pretty simple animation. And then from here, he just moves to the side. And this is where this text comes in. So this one is pretty much the same thing that I did with the text before, where I went to the transform tab and I put a keyframe on these settings here. Also in the shading, I put a keyframe on the opacity, and like one frame before it, I made it 0 and then I changed it to here, and then go a couple frames forward and I changed the settings to this. You can see in the transform, keyframed it, and then it kind of comes back to the middle like this. So that's what it kind of looks like. And then the animation progresses and everything kind of fades out. So on all these merge nodes, so this is the picture of Iman and then this is the text right here. So on these two merges, I did the same animation, as well as this thing here. On the merge node, I just keyframed the blends to go all the way down. And this is like an eye moving around. So on Natt's edit on Instagram, if you look at it, he uses a thing for Motion Array, and I have Motion Array, so I found the exact one that he used. But since I wanted to make this available for free, I made it just completely from scratch. So it's just made with a bunch of shapes and simple animating. As this is fading out, this eye is opening. And what I did here with this eye is transparent background to separate it, of course. Then we have a polygon right here. And basically what I did with this polygon is that you can find it here or just search it up in the search bar. And I put a point here and then also put a point over here. And then basically I clicked on it and adjusted these handles. So you can adjust the handles to make it into this eye shape. And if you want to adjust one without adjusting the other, see how it moves, you just need to hold Command, or I believe it will be Control on Windows. And you can see when I move it around, it will not affect the other side. And same thing with the other side. Yeah, it will not affect both. So you need to do that until you get this eye shape. It doesn't need to be perfect. Then you make it white with the background, and yeah, the merge, I didn't do anything. Then after that is the pupil. So we just have this ellipse going into the background. So this is, if I zoom in here, this is the black circle here. And then on top of that, I merged in a white circle. You can see right here. And on top of that, or under that, I should say, I merged in a gray circle. And how I made it go under was in the merge node, I clicked operator and then selected under. And then below that gray circle, I made a lighter gray circle and again, did the operator under. So you can see the black one and then like a darker gray and a lighter gray under it. And then I put another darker gray circle under that. So just same thing, change the color and then operator under. And then on this merge node, I did my animation. So you can see how this pupil like moves around like this. And I did not do all of these individually, obviously. What I did was on this merge node, you can put a keyframe on the center right here, wherever you want the animation to start. And then you will get this menu at the top right here. And you just want to click this pencil, which is called Draw Append. And from here, you can just click play and move it around. And while it's playing and you move it around, it will track the movement of wherever you move the object. So let me do this with another object, for example. And I bring in like a square, I guess, with a white background, connect it, and then merge that up. Okay, so I have this square right here. Let me just make this the only screen. On the merge, I can move it around. And let's say I want the animation to start like here at frame 51. Put a keyframe on the center. Then I want to click Draw Append and make sure I hover over this and get ready. As soon as I press space, it's going to start recording the movement. So to move it, all I need to do is just like drag it around like this. And you can see it's already tracking keyframes, but obviously I didn't click play yet. So I click play and then I can like move it left to right, left, up, down. It will lag a little bit, but you just need to kind of assume what it's going to look like. So I did all of that. And then when I play it through, it's going to move around exactly like I did. So a really simple way to animate things. So I basically did this with this pupil. And then after that, I copied this exact polygon, except I made the border width a bit wider. So it would appear behind this like white eye, and you can see it's like the border here. And I made this one like a darker gray. You can see it's right here. And then the operator is under, so it obviously goes below. Oh, and also for this pupil, so it doesn't go outside of the white part, I needed to change the operator to a top. And I did do an animation of the eye opening. So for that, I just took this polygon, put a keyframe right here on the right click for shape animation. There should already be one, but you need to remove the keyframe and just create your own. And I actually put a keyframe here where it was originally. And then I went back and I highlighted these 2 points, and you can actually click on this line to straighten everything out. So then the animation goes from straight to opening up to the shape that I originally created. And I actually did this first before I copied this polygon and pasted it here to get the gray one behind it. And then after all of that, I added some camera shake on the whole thing, so the eye kind of moves around like that, and some glow on it as well with these settings. And then on the merge here, I had to move this eye up a little bit. And then after that, you can see this text comes in. And what I did here is I got the text scramble node. If you go to effects, and then you go to templates, if you scroll all the way down, you should find this one called Scramble Modifier. So by itself, it's going to kind of look like that, but I changed the settings a lot. So on here, you need to click on modifiers, and I changed the randomness to this setting, and I kind of animated the randomness down like that. And the randomness at 0 just basically makes it so whatever text you have in this box actually shows, rather than it being random characters. It goes from being random characters, it's like changing a bunch, and then it goes all the way and reveals the actual text like that. But you can see in the final product here, it actually goes from left to right. And that's because I have this rectangle sliding from left to right, revealing the text. And I have it plugged into the effect mask of the text, and I animated the center like this. And then going back to the text on the modifiers, I've checked time and don't change spaces, and I've unchecked randomness. And then for the substitute characters, so this is basically what it's going to be, just changing the characters to randomly. I just added all the numbers and then some symbols. And I made the text red, just to use like a basic font. And then this next text comes in here. So it's a little bit bigger, it's white. And from the bottom, I put a keyframe on the center in the layout tab, and I just made it come up here. I did remember, I went to the spline tab and I smoothed that out a little bit with this animation curve. So it comes in like this. And I also animated the opacity in the shading tab here. So it goes from 0 all the way up. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So again, if you want this entire project file with all the assets, first link in the description, join the videoeditors.io group through my link, and yeah, you'll get access to that. As well as if you're a coach or entrepreneur of some sort and you have an offer you want to grow on YouTube, you can work with us. It should be the second link in the description, ozonedigital.net, so you can just check out what we do and if we can actually help you.